Hi everyone, my name is Elizabeth Carter and I am doing my presentation in particular about puppy mills and how it affects everyone that's involved, whether it be the animals themselves, the humans that are involved, the rescuing that goes into it, and then all of the legislation, prosecuting, all of that eventually follows after the fact. Puppy mills, if you haven't heard anything about them, they are pretty much akin to what you would think of when you think of production on a larger, maybe only like a smaller scale, but it's almost similar to how it would be as far as farm animals and how the industrialization of them has occurred. It's basically just a streamlined, if you want to call it that, process of breeding purebred dogs for the sole purpose of selling. There's really not any concern for the well-being of the animals themselves. As you'll see in the presentation, they're treated horrifically, and again, these animals are really just a means to an end for the breeders to profit off of them. So we'll see how they started, how they operate, and all that, and go from there. Puppy mills are defined as dog breeding operations in which the health of the dogs are disregarded in order to maintain a low overhead and to maximize profits. And the reasons that I have listed to the left are a lot of it's the environment that a lot of these puppies are in on a day-to-day basis. They really have no positive interactions with humans prior to them being sold to either a pet store or to a family. And puppy mills are responsible for producing millions of puppies per year. Puppy mills began by World War II veterans. They began around the 40s and 50s when veterans came home. They were farming, and they began to see a decrease in their profits and their income. So they supplemented their income by selling puppies of the farms that selling puppies of the animal or the dogs that they already had. And then around the 50s and the 60s is when it really took off and became more industrialized, and we see more of how it operates today. There are 5 main ways that puppy mills operate and garner income. One of the main ones are through pet stores, where you can go in and purchase a particular breed of puppy, usually for several $100s. Through the internet, you can also receive, there's several websites you can go to for a particular breed or a particular breeder that you're interested in. Classified ads are another way. Craigslist, even newspaper ads, and then there are flea markets, kind of the same deal with the pet stores you would go in. pick which one you want and take it home. And then there are some dog breed directories that you can go to online and go through more proper channels. But these are generally the way that puppy mills operate and how they get their income. So if you are interested in a puppy and you are looking at any of these resources, you may want to do some research to make sure that you are promoting a responsible breeder and not a puppy mill breeder. Alright, so up until now I've primarily been focusing on how the puppy mill environment itself affects the puppies, but there are ways that the puppy mills themselves affect our environment, and I've highlighted some of the main ones here. So water pollution may be a big one when it comes to puppy mills, depending on where the puppy mills are located, especially if they're near any type of water. You have to be careful of runoff and how the breeders are disposing of any type of feces, urine, even the carcasses of the animals. You have to there may be a potential for contamination, and of course that can lead to all types of pathogens and bacteria into the water. And that may be a way that I think the Rolling Stone article that I mentioned that they investigated in North Carolina, I think that was how they ended up becoming aware of the puppy mill operation, was through complaints about water contamination. And then once they were able to determine that she was kind of illegally or irresponsibly disposing of these things, then they were able to go in and actually shut down her operation. But so then there's also air pollution. Again, these animals they're animals. They're going to poop and pee, and but the problem is that they're more than likely doing that in their own cage. So if you think about all of these animals in this confined space, they're doing nothing but breathing in their own urine and feces and that horrible ammonia smell that comes with it, and producing all that methane. It's got to be a horrid smell, and these animals are living in it day in and day out. So so again, it's probably nowhere near on the scale of what livestock produce, but there is that potential that they could be polluting the air by the amount that they're producing. And I kind of mentioned earlier the solid waste. A lot of the stories that I read were these animals were, once they were dead, they were just kind of left where they lay to rot. So that can be another form of pollution in itself when they're not disposing of their bodies properly. And this is not to say, the people that work in these puppy mills, they're breathing all of this in. They're, and granted, this is all their own doing, but they are having to breathe this in, and I'm sure they there's no telling what they're breathing in, getting sick from the animals themselves. So so not only the animals are suffering, but there's some detriment that's happening between those that are dealing directly with the animals, and if these operate, if it's not operating legitimately, then there's a good chance that there's some environment. All right, so really, there are some ways that we can try to fight puppy mills, and a lot of that is through educating ourselves and knowing what the reality of this situation is. There is some legislation that they are coming out with. One of the ones that I have highlighted, this was a few years ago, but Missouri, who, like I mentioned earlier, they are the puppy mill capital. They have petitioned, they had a proposal for Proposition B, which would be, it would have stiffer penalties for irresponsible breeding. And from what I read, I think that it ended up falling through, but I think they're still trying to revamp it and bring it back. So there are some people out there that are really trying to legislate for animal rights and to hold these breeders accountable. Other thing is really just community research, knowing where these puppies are coming from. I did find one article that listed what the qualities of a responsible breeder should have. There were 6 reasons. The first one was that the breeders are breeding for genuine love of the breed. It's not solely for monetary value. Second quality was most of them will at least have a 5-generation pedigree. The puppies themselves will be very healthy and loved. Number 4, they will be certified free of genetic disease. And 5, these breeders actually encourage you to come over to their home, see where the animals live, see the environment that they're in, and a lot of them will still have the mother and the father there. You can meet them, see their temperament. So it's a very well-informed decision. And the 6th thing was that these breeders, if for some reason you need to return the puppy, they ask that you return it back to them. They are very afraid of having these puppies end up in shelters or ending up in the wrong hands. So they really encourage you to bring it back to them if for some reason it doesn't work out. And there are also other places that you can go to kind of get, do your own research. One of the places that a lot of articles mention would just talk to your vet. A lot of vets will have posters and pamphlets, and will sit down and talk with you to kind of go over what would be the best option for you, so you can then go out and make your own informed decision about which route you should go. And like I mentioned earlier with the legislation, there was just in California, I believe it was last month, California has banned pet stores from selling from breeders, that all the animals that they will have now will be directly from shelters. And I think that is a great thing, because I think it will give people a chance to see shelter animals in a new light. It does make me worry about what will end up happening to the puppies that aren't being sold through pet stores anymore. I'm not sure how that will affect them, but I do think that is a great option, and I think that's definitely a step in the right direction. All right, so in conclusion, I thought this drawing kind of summed up everything. You have, on to the left, you have this family trying to pick out which puppy they want. It looks like it's Christmas time. And then you have over to your right, you have these dogs from in the shelter in the pound that are just clamoring, to be noticed and to be loved on. And then you've got the guy in the corner who's basically getting ready to do terrible things to them. And so it's kind of really the reality of the way we view how we get our puppies and our animals. And I feel like I want to feel like things are changing, and I really hope that they are. I do think there is more of a general knowledge, more so than there used to be, about puppy mills, but I think there's still a lot of ignorance out there, and so I hope that this has brought to light some of the things that these animals are dealing with on a daily basis, and that I hope you pass on the message to everyone you know, and that we can all make more informed decisions when we choose to bring a sweet little puppy into our lives. Thank you.